We spend our entire lives endlessly chasing money, budgeting meticulously, and skipping our morning coffees, yet most people never actually arrive at the financial freedom they are looking for. Why is that? Today we are going to look at what I believe is the single biggest wealth drain in your life, and I promise you it has absolutely nothing to do with your daily spending habits or how much you earn. In fact, I need you to stick around right until the end of this video because I am going to reveal the one asset that self-made billionaires fiercely protect, and how neglecting this exact asset is the real reason so many of us stay stuck. Welcome back to Quiet Wealth. Hi, I am Amara, and I am so glad you're here. If you are new to our community, I am a financial educator, and on this channel we focus entirely on playing the long-term wealth game rather than the exhausting, highly visible status game. Just a quick reminder before we dive in, everything we discuss today is strictly for educational purposes only. I am not here to give you formal financial advice, but rather to share the behind-the-scenes frameworks that can help you make more empowered decisions for your own life. Today I am going to be slightly more direct with you than usual, because I think we need to completely rethink the way we look at our resources. Let me start with a story. A few years ago, I had a conversation with an incredibly successful investor who was worth hundreds of millions of pounds. He shared a piece of wisdom that completely changed my perspective. He said, "People spend their whole life chasing money and never catching it. We chase it at work. We chase it all the way to retirement. We chase it by trimming our budgets down to the bone, and yet we never feel like we have enough." He told me that at a very young age, he decided to stop chasing money entirely and instead focus on becoming the kind of person that money naturally flows towards. That idea stuck with me because the problem with the conventional middle-class mindset is that we try to solve every financial problem purely by cutting back. You can delete every shopping app, skip every night out, and do as many viral buy nothing challenges as you like, but there is only so much you can actually trim from a budget. You could completely give up takeaways and never buy new clothes, but all that really does is make you miserable while keeping you stuck on the hamster wheel of trading your hours for a salary. Now, before I reveal the one ultimate asset you should be tracking instead of just your pennies, we need to talk about something most people completely overlook, and that is your energy. You can have all the time and all the money in the world, but if you are constantly drained and running on empty, absolutely none of it matters. Most people try to manage their money, yet they completely ignore managing their energy. Your energy is finite, and unlike your time, it is not equally distributed throughout the day. You have peaks and you have troughs, and if you're spending your peak hours on things that do not move the needle, you are burning through one of your most powerful resources for nothing. The quietly wealthy tend to audit what gives them energy versus what takes it away. Complaining drains your energy. Mindlessly doom scrolling through social media drains your energy. Trying to keep up with other people's highlight reels drains your energy, but learning a new skill, having a deep and meaningful conversation, or building a project you genuinely care about, those things actually generate energy. They fill you up rather than hollow you out. When you start fiercely protecting your energy, everything else becomes smoother. You make better financial decisions, you become far more creative, and you actually begin to enjoy the process rather than just white-knuckling your way through it. So how do we make sure that energy is pointed in the right direction? A framework I find really powerful is thinking about the two versions of yourself whose opinions actually matter. It is not your boss, it is not your neighbors, and it certainly is not strangers on the internet. The only two people you need to make proud are the 8-year-old you who was full of dreams, and the 80-year-old you who will be full of memories. The 8-year-old wants to see you take risks and chase what genuinely lights you up. The 80-year-old just wants to look back and know that you slowed down when it mattered, loved fully and truly embraced the life you were given. When you start filtering your decisions through those two versions of yourself, you naturally stop pouring your resources into things that do not matter. Which brings us perfectly to the core of today's lesson. So thank you for sticking with me because this is the mindset shift that I believe separates the middle class from the world class. The one thing that billionaires protect more fiercely than anything else, their single most valuable asset, is not their money, their property portfolios, or even their companies. It is their time. Time is the only truly non-renewable resource you will ever have. If you make a bad investment and lose money, you can earn it back. If your car breaks down, you can eventually replace it. But if someone steals an hour of your time, or if you simply let it slip away, you can never get it back. Every moment that passes is gone forever. And yet most of us guard our wallets far more carefully than we guard our calendars. To really bring this home, I want you to try a little thought experiment with me. Imagine that, at the start of every single day, you are handed 24 glass marbles. Each marble represents 1 hour, and together they are the seeds that will grow into your future. You also have two jars sitting in front of you. One is labeled maintenance, and the other is labeled dreams. Let us look at how the average person distributes their marbles on a typical weekday. They wake up, shower, eat breakfast, and get themselves ready. That is roughly 1 marble, and it goes into the maintenance jar, because while looking after yourself is absolutely essential, it is not actively building anything new. Then they spend an hour commuting while listening to angry talk radio or scrolling through their phone. That marble goes into the maintenance jar too, because again, nothing new was learned and no seed was planted. They arrive at work and spend 8 hours in a job they feel completely disengaged from, watching the clock and counting down to 5 o'clock. Those 8 marbles all drop into the maintenance jar. They come home, spend an hour venting about their manager, and then collapse onto the sofa for 3 hours of reality TV. 4 more marbles into maintenance. Then they sleep for 8 hours, which is vital for health, so we will set those aside. At the end of the day, their dreams jar is completely empty. They have not planted a single seed for their future self, and yet they wonder why, year after year, their financial situation never changes. The quietly wealthy operate in a fundamentally different way. They do not just spend their time, they invest it, and they are very intentional about where each marble lands. During that same morning commute, instead of passive noise, they listen to an audiobook or an educational podcast. That marble now drops into the dreams jar. At work, even if it is not their forever role, they operate with a spirit of excellence. They volunteer for projects that build transferable skills, they nurture relationships that could open doors later, and they treat every task as a chance to sharpen their professional reputation. Those 8 marbles go into the dreams jar. In the evening, instead of 3 hours of television, they might watch one episode of something they enjoy, because rest matters too, and then spend just 20 or 30 minutes learning about index funds, researching a potential side business, or working on a creative project. By the end of a single week, those small daily deposits have compounded into hours of genuine growth. Over a year, the difference is staggering. This reframing completely changes how you evaluate spending as well. Secretly wealthy people rarely ask, "How much does this cost?" as their very first question. Instead, they ask, "How much of my time will this take? Or could I buy this time back?" They understand instinctively that spending 3 hours clipping coupons to save £5 is a terrible return on their most valuable asset. They would rather use those 3 hours to read, to upskill, or simply to rest properly so they can perform at a higher level the next day. The wealthy protect their time so fiercely that they will happily pay someone else to handle a low-value task if it buys them back an hour to focus on a high-growth activity. That is not laziness, that is strategic resource allocation. If you want to stop chasing money and start positioning yourself so that opportunities come to you, you have to recognize the massive potential value locked inside every hour of your day. You have to stop letting what I call time vampires, the people who want to complain for hours, the distractions that pull you away from your goals, the obligations you say yes to out of guilt, steal the most precious resource you have. Start treating every single hour as a seed. Protect it, plant it with intention, and water it with consistency. If you do that today, the financial harvest will inevitably follow tomorrow. I want to leave you with one final thought. This is not about hustling yourself into the ground or filling every waking minute with productivity. Rest is a marble well spent. Joy is a marble well spent. The goal is simply awareness, knowing where your marbles are going and making that a conscious choice rather than a default one. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me today. Genuinely, the fact that you chose to put this video into your dreams jar means the world to me. If this gave you even a small wake-up call about where your marbles have been going, please hit that subscribe button right now and join our Quiet Wealth community. We are building something really special here, and I would love for you to be part of it. Drop a comment below and tell me one thing you're going to put into your dreams jar this week. I read every single comment, and I genuinely cannot wait to see